Hi, and welcome to The Sound of Self, the podcast that's all about empowering women in their 30s to make mindful shifts, find their purpose, and step into their power.
This podcast is not just about discussions, it's a movement. We're here to break through the barriers that hold women back from freely expressing themselves. The world needs your unique voice, and we're here to help you find it.
So thank you for joining Jess and Erin on The Sound of Self. Let's unlock the power within and create a life that resonates with the true essence of you.
Hello, welcome to the podcast. We're gonna talk about feminism.
The Sound of Self, yeah.
Okay, so today our podcast episode is a great title that Jess had the genius idea of presenting, which is, Jess?
Feminism as a dirty word. I'm sure I'm not the person that's come up with that originally, but I've probably heard it from somewhere. But
Feminism as a dirty word, a dirty word. You dirty thing. How dare you use the F word?
Dirty girl.
Yes. But where we're coming from with this is really from a point of, hey, feminism does not have to be a tunnel vision of what it is. We've got more of a holistic view of feminism, and I think Jess put this in better terms than me, so I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, so I think one of the first things that come to mind when someone mentions that they're a feminist, and I am a feminist.
Oh, Aubrey's a feminist too.
Aubrey is too. She's a bit upset.
She feels very passionate about this topic.
She is. Yeah, she really is. Oh. Yes.
Just for the context, Jess is currently holding her beautiful little baby on her knee and breastfeeding while we're doing this today because she's the woman who can do it all.
Yeah, girl power.
Yeah. This is part of feminism.
Feminists before us, I can do that.
Exactly. Like how many women have, breastfed while climbing a mountain? Who knows?
Yeah. Oh, well, there was a lady recently who ran a marathon and stopped to breastfeed and, what do you call it? Threw it out of the park. I'm sure I said that saying wrong, but you know what I mean.
That's amazing.
She flogged everyone.
Wow. Girl power.
Yeah, absolutely. So, feminism. What I was saying.
I think we were talking about men, not being shamed and blamed when it comes to feminism as well.
Yeah. So I studied social work and psychology for 5 years. And in that we explore all different social issues and phenomena. And feminism is one of the things that we kind of go over. And a common misconception is that this feminism is kind of women versus men, and that it's all just about how women have been oppressed, over the years. But the reality is it's us against the patriarchy, and the patriarchy is the way that a society is organized based on its hierarchy, like who is at the top and who's at the bottom. And with that comes a lot of roles, what kind of roles we play that maintain positions of power. Patriarchy itself does impact men negatively, and we are seeing through gender roles the impacts of this on men not being able to talk about their emotions because they're supposed to be seen as strong, and the providers, and emotions are seen as weak.
Which leads to my other episode where I interview my brother, who is an actor and master of expression. So please listen to that episode. It will be out soon if it's not already out.
Yes, 100%, which is what got me thinking about this topic in the first place.
Yeah.
Because although we're a podcast for women in their 30s, I think it's really important for us women to understand these social relationships and power dynamics. And I'm passionate about it because in the grief episode, I talk about how I lost my brother to suicide and his own mental health issues, and he couldn't talk to anybody, and he was in a toxic relationship where, you know, there was power at play, all of that stuff. It's more complicated than that. So patriarchy oppresses both men and women. We all, like, we've heard all of that before, of being stuck at home, you know, in the past, not having the right to vote for a long time, not having the even right to own property. A lot of these things changed quite later in the piece, and so we've kind of started out as on a back foot. Things are changing, but then oppression comes in different ways when we're still expected to do it all, not in my individual experience, but for a lot of women still, they're expected to be mothers and work, like, you know, so there's still ongoing issues on both.
I find it super interesting, you know, in the modern dating world as well, as a, you know, single woman in her 30s. Shout out to the other single women in their 30s out there. I see you, I feel you. How I'm expected to, you know, if I want to have children, but I also need to provide financially, having conversations with people about what their expectations about the percentage of financial distribution I would have if I was also to have a baby and take maternity leave. Some men, and it's so interesting, but a lot of men still feel it should be 50-50. When you think about it, like, if you're at home also taking a few years off your income stream, you're going to be earning less super, which will affect long-term interest. You're going to be, you know, learning, maybe taking a step back in your career, which might lead to an income drop with the position you're in. You know, a lot of women earn a percentage less than men because they took off the time to go and have a baby and then come back, and, you know, they're just expected to fall on their feet all of a sudden and just go back to the same pace that they were at, which is, you know, impossible with what they've just been through. Think about it. But then where did they go back into the workforce again? No, after they've had that. So there aren't many, you know, entry or sort of more mid to high level entry positions for someone who's done that. As a, you know, woman maybe who had a baby later and is a bit older. So yeah, and this is part of, I think, modern feminism is just asking for the right to have that considered, the financial contribution, you know, be supplemented for someone who maybe instead of, you know, expecting to be 50-50 split, be like a 60-40 split, because you're also taking the career at home as well, of, you know, maintaining the well-being of everyone else. And that's a mental tax and an emotional tax as well. And that's why we have so many women crash out with autoimmune diseases after having kids and then having to hold it for everyone and not having that emotional support.
It's funny because that in itself, the way, so any way that a society is kind of organized, there's value systems that come with that, along with like the gender roles and all that stuff, right? And the way that we value things is reflective of that that structure as well. So even just privileging numbers such as you know, finances, and focusing on the 50-50 over the weight and value of the emotional toll.
Yeah.
Even the topic of mental load, how a lot of mothers and women still have to carry, like, they know all the kids' birthdays and occasions coming up, and they're planning all the events, and they're planning all the holidays, and they're planning all the finances as well as what needs to be done, and so
yeah, as well as contributing financially and going to work and, you know, making sure that everyone's fed and watered and the laundry is done, just things like that, which is, you know, I'm not dissing guys out there, like, you know, hats off to the men who are really putting in the work and contributing, but there's still quite a gap there. Yeah.
why I wanted to bring the topic up is just to acknowledge these things that are not valued as much because of the way that we've been socialized into our Western society, of, you know, what we privilege over others and what we expect of each other, what we expect of men in order to be the providers. Like I watch my husband. He is somebody who doesn't fit that stereotype where he expects me to both work and look after Bub. He's doing a lot of the domestic stuff. He cooks for me all the time, all of those things. But I see the pressure that he's under as well, and so it's recognizing their own unique pressures that are different to ours. And for women, it has been something that we've been structurally oppressed for much longer, like in so many different rights and aspects. So I'm certainly not saying stop talking about that stuff because men are hurting too. What I'm saying is that we need to recognize, or I personally believe, we need to recognize that each of our plights are challenging and different in their own rights. And that if we can have compassion for the other side and respect one another and just, you know, hear each other out with open hearts and minds, without all this anger. Like, sure, there's injustice, but if you can find the compassion behind that and understanding it and know that it's the patriarchy, not men's, you know, but men have a responsibility as well as women have a responsibility not to perpetuate the injustices that have occurred.
And I'd say a big part of this is having an openness to have conversations without assumption and expectation. Because the more we can have safe conversations where we feel we can express these things without being ridiculed or, you know, judged, for example, that's when the healing occurs. And that's when the collaboration between men and women occurs, you know, and they and them. I want to acknowledge the LGBT plus community, but it's about just being curious and open as to how we can work together and what that looks like for each person, because it's going to be different based on where we're at, what our capacity is, and, you know, what background we have. But the more we can just go, hey, I feel this is lacking in, you know, where can I ask for help in this area, or where can I give help in this area with this, you know, this situation I'm in. So
curiosity is the flip side of judgment. We can approach more things with curiosity. We'll find that we'll learn so much more about each other and have more understanding of just situations in general, to be able to better problem solve together while we're out just, you know, judging and trying to prove our points. We're falling on deaf ears. Like, it's, when you have political arguments with people and you just spouting your own points.
There is a lot of noise, and I think that is the issue, that maybe it's not the noise that we need, it's actually creating more of a space.
Yeah, like, why do you think that? Where does that come from? How does that influence your identity? Just getting to understand things a little bit more, and like, how can I be there for you, or how can you help me with this? Like, I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. So for those who are listening, we'd love to know your ideas and thoughts on this. As always, please pop us a message, follow us on social media, and share this episode if you are loving what you're hearing and you want to share the love between men and women and LGBT plus community.
Love to all.
Thank you for tuning in to The Sound of Self. We hope today's episode inspired you with new insights and reflections.
If you enjoyed our conversation or found it helpful, consider sharing it with a friend or leaving us a review. Help us reach more people like you on their self-discovery journey.